Hi everybody, Mr. Wise here, coming to you from my kitchen. And today we're going to do a little science experiment about how strings work. So here's what I'm going to do. Right here in my kitchen, I have a drawer. A lot of you might have a drawer like this where you have the baggies and the chip clips and all that stuff. And in my drawer, I have different sizes of rubber bands. So those rubber bands are going to be our strings today. Now, strings are a very cool type of instrument because there's so much science in how that the sound is made. You know, all sound is made of vibration. It's vibrations in the air or vibrations in whatever material you're using, and that's what goes to our eardrums, and we pick up on it. So here's how this works. I've got my guitar here. Just happen to have it in my kitchen. And I want to show you how this works first, okay? So guitar has strings of different sizes. You've got this very thick one here, and they get a little bit thinner as you go to this last string. This last one is so thin you almost can't even see it on the camera. And this big one up here is very low. And then this little one here is very, very high. And the reason this is low and the reason this is high has to do with how thick they are and also how tight they are. So we'll get to that in a moment. But you might notice they're different sounds, but they're on the same guitar. It's really like different instruments. And you can change that sound. You can change how high or low they are in a couple of different ways. First of all, you can change how high or low a string is by making it shorter or longer. So right now, let's take this little teeny string that you can barely see. It goes all the way from here, all the way to here, right? And when I play it, it sounds like that. But when I take my finger and I move it along, which is what I do when I'm playing guitar, I'm really shortening and lengthening the guitar string. What happens is it's going to get higher. Shorter things make higher sounds. Watch, it sounds like this usually. Now I'm gonna put my finger here and I'm gonna slide it up. Watch what happens. Listen again. It goes higher. All right. What happens when I slide it down? I'll start with it way up here, which means the string's only this long, and I'm gonna slide it, which means the string's getting longer. It's a little harder to hear, so I'll move close to the camera, but watch what happens. You hear it go down? Pew! Okay? So that's one way that you can change the sound of a string. The other way is by tightening or loosening it. It's called tension. And when you have a lot of tension, the string goes higher, and when you loosen something, it goes lower. Watch this. So I've got this thing called a tuning knob here, a tuner, and when I turn this tuner, you'll notice that the sound changes. I'll get really close because I'm going to be playing the little teeny tiny string. What happens is it's going to go lower. Watch. Did you hear it go meow? Listen again. That's because I just loosened it. I'm going to tighten it as I go now. Take a listen to that. Did you hear it go wah? That means the note is getting higher. You can hear it even more on my big string. Okay, so I'm going to tune the big string. It's going to sound very low, so I'll get close so the microphone picks it up. Whoa. And if I tighten it back up by turning this thing, take a listen. That one you can definitely hear. Okay, so what can you do about this besides like just buying a guitar? Well, you can actually make a string instrument at your house with these rubber bands. So I have different sizes of rubber bands. I've got a very long one. I've got a very skinny one, and it's kind of normal sized. And I got a fat one that's kind of small too. You'll notice they all make different sounds. So here's what I'm gonna do. This is a little tough. You might need help from a grown-up, but I'm gonna put it, right here. This actually says asparagus on it. It's from a vegetable. So I'm gonna take my thumbs and I'm gonna pull it tight. And I'll reach very carefully over with my finger and I'm gonna pluck it. Now it's hard for you to hear from here. I already tried this video once and you couldn't hear anything. So I'm gonna get very close to the camera. It's gonna not look like much, but I'm gonna get close to the microphone here, I guess. Now that sounds like that. What if I go with this teeny tiny thin rubber band? Let's find out what happens. It's gonna go close to the microphone. It's very quiet, but it still makes a different sound. Let's try one more. Let's try this big one. All right, so when I stretch it out, it's like this. I'm gonna put it real close to the microphone. That one sounds very low. I don't know if it came through on there, but it sounds super duper low. It sounds like wow. Meanwhile, the other ones sound like bing, 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 wow. So here's the thing. You can change the length here too. So if I stretch it like this, that's one thing. But what if I just take a little bit of rubber band? Well, it's gonna sound very high. What if I take more rubber band, like this much? It'll sound a little lower. And if I take this much rubber band, like a teeny tiny bit, on this one, watch. And if I take a little less, it's lower. And if I take a little less than that, okay. So now, what about this big rubber band? What if I take, even though it's humongous and it should make a very low sound, because big things make low sounds, if I take a teeny bit of this rubber band, I shorten it, watch what happens. Oh, it's as high as the other ones. Okay, so this one, if I play very low, will still sound like wow, but if I take a teeny bit, it'll sound like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the different sizes to make an instrument, and those different sizes are going to make it so that it's slightly different tensions, which means how tight it is. And you'll notice that there's a different sound for each one. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take a plastic cup. Got to be careful with the plastic cup. Don't use a glass bottle or something like that, a glass cup, because we don't want it to break, okay? So be very careful. And I'm going to, using maybe an adult's help, I'm going to stretch it here. Now, the tough thing with a cup is since it's a circle, it's easy for it to just fly off. You gotta get it on there so it stays like that, okay? I'll do another one. Now, the one thing, I don't want the two strings, my two rubber bands, I don't want them to touch because that will make it difficult. Now, check this out. I've got two stretched across. Take a listen to them. That's the skinny one. Here's the fat one. Doggy, doggy, where's your bone? Huh. Okay, so let's do one more. Now this one is going to be, I'm gonna guess, a lot lower sounding. Why? Because it's longer and it's not going to be as tight. Now it's okay if the rubber bands touch on the bottom, but you don't want them touching on top. So it's not gonna be as tight, and it's very long. So take a listen to this one. That's very low. I'm gonna pull it tighter just so I can hear it a little better. Ooh, still low, but not so low you can't hear it. So take a listen. So with just three rubber bands and a plastic cup, I made my own instrument. So that's pretty cool. Now we're gonna do some more science videos, just because hey, it's important to know how the world works, and this is a large part of how the world works. It's how people make full-size instruments. You start by making simple things in your kitchen, and then you go from there. So good luck, and I hope you have some fun. Talk to you soon.